Okay, good morning class. Another quick tutorial, this time on some annotations and how to use annotations to label your site and your roads and your verges and other features that we may encounter as we develop our lectures and tutorials. So I want everyone to click on the Annotate tab, which we will find all our drafting tools under. But for this lecture in particular, we'll be using the text tool. So I want everyone to click on that text tool, and once you click on the text tool under your properties, you'll find that I've created a few different types of text for use in our Revit file. So for the first one, we will be labeling the road. I want you to choose a 7mm Arial bold from the drop down menu, and we're going to click on our left or right, and you'll find the text box opens up. Okay, so what we will do is before we do that, the text, I think we can just set the scale of our project so that it's the text appears the correct size. So here at the bottom you'll see that it says 1 in 50, so we want to change that to actually to be a 1 in 100 or even a 1 in 200. Okay, so it's a very simple matter of clicking 1 in 100 and you'll find that your site has gotten a bit smaller on screen, but the dimensions still apply. Okay, so what we could do here is we can start by annotating. So we click on text again under the Annotate tab, you click text, and from the drop down menu we click 7mm Arial bold. Okay, so remember I said initially that the properties tab is very important, and you can see it coming into play now. So we'll just do a little click and our text box should pop up, and we can type the name of our street, and for argument's sake we'll call it Blue Street. Okay, so once we've typed that in, we could just click out anywhere on the screen and click escape and escape again. Always remember the double escape. Okay, we find that this text is a bit small, so I can teach you a very quick method of making the text bigger and the correct way of doing it. So if we click on the text and we say edit type, and we will come up with this screen. Okay, now in Revit, remember, we do not want to edit straight away, we want to create a new type. If we edit this, it's going to edit the text on the screen, and then this will not be 7mm bold anymore. So the first step is, let's go over it again, is to click on the text, edit type under your properties, and then the third command will be duplicate. Okay, so we want to duplicate to create a new text style. So click duplicate, and then it's going to ask you to rename the style. So we can say 1 point or should we say 15mm Arial bold. Okay, so once we've labeled that, we click OK, and now that we have our type named as 15mm Arial bold, it's a new type obviously, we can change the settings. Okay, so the text style will be now 15mm instead of 7mm. Okay, and yeah, so that's how we change that, and it's already applied. We click OK, and you'll find that the text style becomes bigger. Okay, so I think this is a decent size because we want to show differentiation between different texts and what's important and what's not. Okay, so we have Blue Street. I'd like you to centralize it. You can centralize it with your eye. You can even use your keys on your keyboard to move them left and right, up and down. So Revit's very user friendly when it comes to moving objects. Okay, so under Blue Street I want you to double click on this, go right to the end and click enter to go into the next line, and we will say 10 meters wide. Okay, and we can click out of it, and you'll see that under your modify tab, Revit has a few options. So we'd like to align this, centrally align it. So we have this 10 meter blue street at 10 meter wide, almost centralized. So we want to also label the bottom street, so we click on it, and then the very easy command of copy, we click on the object and we pull it straight down. Okay, so you'll find that Revit gives you a 90-degree angle to say that you're pulling it straight down, and you click and escape. Okay, very simple. Then you just double click on it to edit it, delete the word blue and type in RED for red street and click out and escape. Okay, so very simply we have labeled our two streets. Okay, so the next phase would be to label our verges and then our actual sites and so on and so forth. Okay, so our streets are labeled. Again, under your annotate tab, click on text. Let's choose our 7mm bold and let's zoom in. Remember class, if you cannot see something on screen, it's always good to zoom in. Okay, and if you hold your center button, you'll be able to pan. So don't be afraid to zoom in. So we're going to click and we are going to type 3000mm space VERGE verge and click. Okay, and escape. So we want to move this around. You'll find that once you do a text box and you have some writing in it, you'll have two tabs. One is the move and one is the rotate. So the move is simple, you can just move, or the rotate, if you click and hold on it, you'll be able to turn your text around. Okay, so we are not turning text around just yet. We will just move the move command, use the move command for our exercise right now. So once you've selected, always centralize the text so that it's centralized in the text box, and sometimes you may find that your text box larger. You can always bring it down to size. Okay, and if you pull it a bit more, it'll move the text to 2 lines, but generally we want this on 1 line. Okay, so going forward from there, if we click on it and we click copy, we should copy one to this end, try and centralize it as best as possible, pull it to this end without escaping the command, and then pull across, and you'll find that you can just place it. Okay, and if you move it, it'll snap. Okay, so we've labeled our verges quite nicely. Our second or third step would be now to label each site as we see them. Okay, so I want you to use the 15mm text. So the easy way to do this is to click on it and then copy it over and double click to edit it, and we'll delete everything inside. So we want to label this F 899, and we can always put it onto a next line very much like that and click out. Okay, so we want to sort of centralize this. You can use your eye to centralize it. You don't have to draw a line to centralize it. I think as you go along in CAD software, it's going to be quite tedious to keep drawing lines. So try to centralize it with your eye and get used to doing that. So we've created now F899, which is the bordering property. So we want to label all our sites going forward. So you're going to click on it. You're going to again use a copy command, and you're going to move it. So we centralize by our eye, and don't be afraid to zoom in if you cannot see. And okay, so we're done copying all the earth labels. So what I want you to do is now edit each label to the following property in the consecutive numbers. So that would be, if that was 899, 900, this would be 901, 902, 903, 904, and 905. Okay, so that's our simple way of labeling our sites. I showed you how to copy a existing text label. I showed you how to create a new text label. I'll go over creating a text label again one more time so that we all understand it. But you can see how nicely this is now reading from what we had. Okay, so to create a new text label again, we'll just go as usual to text. Remember to save your project. Revit will always prompt you to save your project every 15 minutes to 30 minutes. So please always save your project. Okay, so again, we're going to say edit type, and we're going to say duplicate. Remember to always duplicate. Never ever edit an existing text. Always duplicate. Okay, so when we click duplicate, the rename tab will come up. So let's label it 10mm Arial bold and click OK, and we're going to change this to 10mm and just click anywhere on your screen and click OK, and we can just click our text box anywhere. So you'll find now that it's relative to size, it's about a 10mm. So if we click, I just want you to type the letter in A in capital letter and just click anywhere and escape. You'll find that this text is slightly larger than that and slightly smaller than this. Okay, so the reason we created a 10mm text is because we want to label all our boundary beacons. Okay, so we're gonna click on the A text, use your drag handle to move it, and we'll leave it just over there. Now to copy this, we want to label all the boundaries, so we're going to click on our copy tool with your A selected, look there at the center, must say center, and we pull across. Okay, so everything's going to say A for now, but we'll change it later on. And pull it down and escape. You can just realign this to somewhere there and then copy it over again so that we have uniformity in our placement of labels. Okay, so we've labeled all, so we just want to change everything now to the different letters A, B, C, and so on. Okay, that would be G, H, I, J, K, and L, and escape, and you'll find now that all your site boundaries are labeled. Okay, so the next step in this is to label all our side boundary lengths and breadths. So again, we will use our text tool. We'll choose this time a 5mm Arial bold, and we'll go up to the first side. We'll open the text box up, and we know that the short side of our sites is 15 meters, or 15,000 millimeters. Always in small letters, and site boundary. Okay, always remember this is the notation that we use to label site boundaries. It's always the length or the width first, and then followed by the words site boundary. Okay, so we'll find that this text box is not centralized. We'll click on centralize, and we'll bring it a bit slightly in. Okay, so but it should read on one line, and then we'll move this to sort of the center point of that site. Okay, you can use your mouse to nudge it to make it central, or you could use a line, to just a drafting line, and you can centralize it. Okay, and afterwards you can just delete it. Okay, so if that's centralized, now we can obviously copy that over if we select the center point of this line. So as soon as you hover your mouse over and you get the triangular icon, that will show you a midpoint. So if you click on it and you pull over until it turns into a triangle again, it's telling you that you've reached the midpoint of that line. Okay, so a very simple way of copying text, or copying any item for that matter, to have it central, or to have it as at the same position as the first one. Okay, so once you've done that, escape, we'll need to copy this to the bottom. So we're going to go to copy again, and we'll pull it just under there, and then we can just realign this with the little tab on our text box. Okay, so we're going to click on it, we're going to click copy again, find the midpoint, and pull over and over and over and over. Okay, and then escape, and you'll find that now your boundaries have been labeled. Okay, so our next step now is to label the boundaries on your verticals. That's the 30-meter boundaries. So all we have to do is just again copy a text. So you select it, copy, and just pull it up to any point of your site, and we're going to delete this 15,000 and make it 30,000 millimeters, and you click anywhere on your screen and escape. Okay, so you will click on this text box and you will rotate using the handle very simply, and use the move tool to centralize it. Okay, if you want a real dead center, use a detail line to just find the central point, and you can move your text by eye to meet that, and then you can just delete that line. Okay, so once we have that there, we can copy it again, choose the midpoint, and just pull across. Okay, and then on this one we would want it here on the outside. Escape, and then you can just pull in your text. Okay, so I think this finishes up the annotations, the different types of annotations. Just to refresh, we learned how to create a 15mm Arial bold text, or any type of text for that matter, by using the duplicate command. You click on it, edit type, and duplicate to create new text styles. It's very simple. We've learned that with the 15mm, and we've learned that with the 10mm. You can even create a 2.5 or 1 or whatever it is that you want, and what size you want. Okay, so we've learned that text styles are under the annotation tab. It won't show in 3D, it's only a 2D object. We've learned how to rotate text into the direction we want it. We've also learned how to copy text over using the midpoint so that everything's central and everything looks good. We've learned how to label different parts of our site plan. So I think that is a tutorial that shows you the basics of text and annotations, and I hope that this tutorial will greatly help you going forward. Okay, thank you students, and then in the next lesson we will learn how to create now a site plan or a topographic surface, which we will use now in 3D. So if you just click on your default 3D, you'll find that your site is in 3D, but it's not showing up as your text is not showing up. Okay, so this is just a basic 3D line drawing. Okay, in the next tutorial I'll teach you how to actually draw up a proper site that uses a topographic surface, and we can use that to further our 3D modeling capabilities. Okay, thank you students, and I'll see you in the next lesson.